Hello and welcome to my channel. So this is one of those days that I threatened you about a few videos ago, or my last, I don't know when it was, but it was one of my Vlogmas videos where I talked about me popping on camera with no makeup on. This is the last Saturday of 2023, and y'all know what I look like when I'm all made up, so I just wanted to pop on here really quick with a very quick video because I saw something on the internet the other day that really shook me and was a very good reminder of something that I think a lot of us can relate to. So we all know about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever, Mr. Simone Biles, no, I'm kidding. His name is Jonathan Owens, I think. He made an appearance on a podcast where he said that he didn't know who she was when they first met. And he also talked about how she basically came after him. We all know. We know. There were a lot of takes on this. There was a lot of anger about this interview. I was offended. A lot of people were offended. And I think what's interesting is the response to that offense that we took. There have been a lot of people who have said the reason why we're offended. Let me just go down the list here. So there's been a lot of people who have said the reason why we're offended is because we are single Black women and we're miserable. We want everybody to be single because we are. We are, I think that's it. I think those are the two things. We're just miserable and single, and Black women are always tearing other Black women down. People that took offense to his interview, not a single person tore down Simone, from what I could see. There were definitely people who were asking her to stand up or to, advocate for better for herself, at least in how their love story is represented in a public interview like that. But not a single person was like, Simone is a loser. Now, let me back up. There were people saying she was deeply insecure and she suffered from colorism. And okay. So there were people insulting her. I wasn't. I didn't. I do think that, I didn't. And I don't necessarily believe that she has a lot of things people were claiming that she does have. However, I think we all did want her to advocate for better for herself and to not be okay with the way that he presented their love story. I do not think anybody wanted her to be single and miserable. I think people just don't want her to be in a relationship where she is being openly disrespected, which is what happened in that situation. Even if you don't agree, anytime someone says they didn't know who a decorated Olympian was, they are the catch. They went after them. And the they they're talking about is the woman in the relationship, their wife, that is wrong for so many reasons. And there's so many videos out there responding to it. I already responded to it. And whether you agree with it or not, the fact of the matter is that he could have chosen better words in that situation, and he set her up to be embarrassed. And we have it's acceptable to be offended by that. So that's what happened in that situation. And that conversation went on and on. I saw so many videos about it, so many people talking about it on so many different platforms. The other day I saw a video and I was like, okay, this is if her interview with her husband infuriated people, this is the kind of interview that makes people happy. For everything that we do, there is an example of what we want to see and what we don't want to see. For everything, right? The interview that I watched that was an example of what we want to see is, I think it was a clip taken from a live that Fantasia and her husband, I believe his name is Kendall Taylor, did in regards to her filming The Color Purple. And I'll play the clip for you here.
I think there's been two things that I've watched you do that I was the most proud of. This movie, because you killed. You killed. And it's not just about the movie. You didn't allow Celie to come home. Aww. And I really appreciated that, because that role, to have the code switch and that capacity to come home. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I made it hard for her to play Celie. I know I did. Because every day I'm telling you, you beautiful, you great, you know what I mean? You gorgeous. And then you gotta go on set and be something that's the opposite.
No, you made it, no, thank you for that.
Oh, word.
Yeah, because the first time I played Celie on Broadway, that was hard because I went home to that voice by myself. I went home to that voice in bad relationships. So it just made it even worse.
I wasn't having that.
I thank you, baby.
That moment, And when you sang with the orchestra at the Kennedy
At the
Center,
Kennedy Center.
and it's more precious to me because y'all didn't get to see it. You know what I
Some
mean?
of
I had to
the
share a
rock
lot with my
songs
wife, so
have
that was a sacred situation. If you wasn't in the building, then so that what you did was just incredible. Stand there flat-footed and sing with all those pieces. But the fact that it evaporated. Nobody can see it again. You can't repost it. Like, it was a very sacred moment. Because I didn't have to share that with the world.
So in that clip, as you can see, first of all, he is amazed. He is very amazed by her. He is a fan. Mr. Taylor is a fan of his wife. And the biggest thing that I see is he's not convinced of her value and her worth because of what the outside world sees. He's convinced because of what he sees. And that is so, so powerful. A lot of you out there might be too young to remember, okay? Because I just realized me and Fantasia are the same age. I just had to look it up. But you might be too young to remember a time where Fantasia was very open on social media about different personal struggles she was going through. We remember whenever she came out and was like, I'm functionally illiterate. Remember that? We remember a time where she said, or where she had a child with a man who was already in a relationship. I think he was in a marriage, and she was the mistress. We know that she attempted to take her own life at one point. So Fantasia was going through it, and it was displayed and talked about on social media a lot, I want to say in the 2010s, early 2010s. Then around 2014, 2015, something changed, and she met who is now her husband. Now, of course, the internet being what it is, they dug up dirt about him and they had opinions about him. But something that sticks out to me about this time is that when Fantasia met him, she said that she used to have dreams. And I cannot find this post because she posted it on Instagram and she's pulled it down. But it has always, always stuck in my head. And it's been about 10 years now. She said when she was younger, she used to have a dream about this all-encompassing, beautiful, wonderful love. And that she would meet this person and they would have this love to give to her. And when she met her husband, she knew that was the man from the dream. And I remember thinking, Lord, send me a dream. Who can I meet? And what's funny is I actually have dreamed about a lot of people that I end up crossing paths with. They never offer nothing, but they do be. I dream it, and it happens. It happens quite a bit. But yeah, that's what I remember from the connection, and I remember from really early on, they were locked in. They were together. He was on her team. Apparently, they got married within 3 months after meeting, which I don't. Hey, if it's right for you, it's right. And ever since then, I mean, they've done some work together as a couple. I know some of it has been kind of questionable, around the whole dominant, submissive, blah, blah, blah conversations. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the fact that it is so clear by the way this man talks about her, that he loves her so completely. And this idea that he didn't want her bringing home the weight of playing Celie to the house because that's not who he is. That's not who she is to him. And that's not the woman that he loves. And he doesn't ever want her to forget who the queen that she is and how beautiful she is and how important she is when she spends all day in Celie's shoes. And as you can see in the clip, she says, it was better for me that I had you this time around. Because when I did the first time when I was on Broadway, it was just me. And so I would go on stage and I would have to say those lines and I would have to live that life. And I would go home and I would still hear those voices and I would have to sit with myself in the pain that kind of narrative brings forward. But this time I had you to counter recognize it. And it made all the difference. And it made me think about how many times people are told, especially when you have experiences maybe with being called unattractive, or you have experiences being called undesirable, or it's been hard for people to love you. And how many times people are told, well, you have to love yourself first. Well, you're the one that decides. Well, it all comes from within. When the truth is that a lot of times we heal the best in relationships with people who can see the best in us. There was a video that I was going to post in the spring of 2022. It was for a mental health company, and they ended up not going through with the ad. But the concept of the video was that we're meant to heal in community. You can only do so much work on your own. You can only do so much positive self-talk and affirmations and ABCD on your own before it starts to just become an echo chamber. We are made who we are by the collaborative effort of ourselves and the people and the love that surrounds us and that comes back to us when we put ourselves out in the world. And when Fantasia talks about, because I went after that interview, I went and I looked up everything from their courtship and like things she said about him. I didn't have to look very far because, she's in The Color Purple right now, which I'm going to talk about that in a second. But she's in The Color Purple right now. It's in the movie theater. So I didn't have to look very far to find it. But she talks about how much she's been able to do and how supported she's felt and then what a difference it's made to have somebody rooting for her and cheering her on. And I think especially because good relationships, wholesome love, decent fit, like it's very hard to come by if we're honest. There is a creator who makes a lot of content where they will say, getting a man is not an accomplishment. And I know why they do that, because, you got to be able to focus on other things, and it's in an effort to say there are more important things in the world. However, finding someone who loves you completely and is there to root for you and who sees the good in you when a lot of people around you are like, nah, that ain't for me. That's not just an accomplishment. That is a divine assignment for you from God above. And not everybody gets that. To me, that's one of the highest accomplishments in the world. And it's not always looked at like that, especially if you have people who have a pattern of always being partnered or, it's easy for them to da-da-da. But when you've been really hurt, when you've been made to feel worthless, when you've been made to feel the way that Fantasia describes, how she grew up feeling, how, being ugly, being invisible. In fact, I'm looking at some of the stuff she's saying and I'm like, twin, like I get it. I understand. And you find somebody who says, oh, that's not who I see at all. No, I see the person that like, yeah, you've heard these voices, you've heard people, they have these comments, but I see the best. That's who I love. I love what I see. And I don't like them talking about you any kind of way. I don't like, when they talk about you, they need to put some respect on your name. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous thing. It's such a deep blessing, such a big blessing. And so I love when she talks about him. I love when she talks about their relationship. And I love how he talked about her. And it brought me back to the whole Simone Biles thing because that's all people wanted. When they ask you about this woman, we don't care. I mean, we like her, we love her. We love the medals and we love the recognition and we think it's great. She's always going to be important to us. I was talking to a little girl the other day who was 8 years old and she was like, I just want to talk about Simone Biles. Okay. But, most importantly, we want to feel like the person that you're with, if they speak about you, what they say is, if they are asked, hey, how did you end up with the Simone Biles? It was a blessing. I was blessed. We don't want to hear nothing else because anything else is a disservice to love and a disservice to the way you're supposed to represent people that you care about. I think this was a great year for anybody who speaks publicly to watch your mouth and watch your tone. And I speak for myself as well. From all the different defamation lawsuits we see happening right now to all of the things that came out about pop stars and what happens behind the scenes. And I think more so than ever, it's important to remember that the people that we're in community with, that we're in relationships with, we might know the reality of our connection. We might know, but how you speak about them publicly, how you present them publicly is, it's so important. It is so important. And I'll also say how you speak about them publicly really, really tells how you feel about them privately. But that's another conversation. Anyway, I went and found this interview because I was looking for Color Purple like review content because I had heard some nasty stuff. I had heard people getting up and walking out of the theater and I was like, what is going on? And somebody asked me to go see the movie and I said, okay, I'll go. And I was in tears. I was in tears. I never saw the stage play, but I did listen to the musical soundtrack. So I knew it was a musical. The amount of people that went that didn't know it was a musical is an abomination. Well, do you not read? Do you not read any reviews? What happened? Anyway, so people went, they didn't know it was a musical. People start singing, they get up and walk out, which I'm like, even if you didn't know it was a musical, the songs are good. The choreography is good. The musical, like, it's good. Anyway, So I go and I watch it, and I actually hate the color purple. Okay. I'm prepared. I watch it. I'm prepared to be traumatized. I haven't seen the movie in years. All right. And it's because of that feeling of knowing what it's like to feel like you are devalued because you're not desirable. Woo. I do not like that. There was a moment, and it was about 20 years ago, and it just happened to be on. And I saw how Mr. was talking to Celie, and I just walked in the room, and I just broke down in tears. Like, I mean, crumpled into a ball on the ground and started crying. And I don't even think I understood at the time how to really process why that affected me so much. And my dad was like trying to find the remote. He's like, oh, and he turned it off. But I was just like, that is how, I remember saying, that is how I feel. I feel that like that. So when Fantasia says she went out and she would perform this on Broadway, she would perform this character, and she would have to go home by herself with these voices and kind of like just she's got Celie's narrative on her. She's got her own memories. Like, it was tough. So having that love, having somebody who was like, I don't care what they said about you before, I'm here now and I say this, was transformational and life-changing for her. And what was transformational and life-changing for me is has been a lot of different things. Clearly, I've never found a love like that. But in the movie, I'm watching it, and by the way, people have asked, why is Color Purple a musical? Because it's a deeply traumatic movie. And musicals make things light. It brings a little bit of levity to things, right? It's a very intense story. Why can't we sing? I loved it. I loved it. And I felt really bad too, and I understand why she did it, but I felt bad that the press tour for the movie when it was coming out was shadowed a little bit by Taraji P. Henson talking about pay, equal pay, and how badly Black actors and actresses are treated. And I was sad about that because her performance is so amazing. She's so good in this. They're all so good. And I feel like that's what we should be talking about. I understand why. I understand the pay conversation. I get it. And I understand giving that kind of performance and being like, yeah, well, duh. And that's why I shouldn't have to fight to be paid well or whatever. Like, I get that. But I just wish that I had been warned ahead of time how beautiful this movie was going to be. Anyway, so I'm watching it, and I know that while I have never received a love like Fantasia has with her husband, I know that I've been transformed myself because I'm watching the movie and she's singing "I'm Here," right? And there's a part where she looks at it and, at the camera, and she says, "I'm beautiful." And then she just looks straight into the barrel of the camera and she just goes, "Yes." And I was like, amen. We are. I mean, to me, that was like I get like choked up, but I mean, it was just, she's so good. It's so good. And the important thing is that she is with a man who, when they ask about her, oh yeah. No. Don't play with this. Don't play with this one. I know what I have. Mwah. Chef's kiss. The only way a man should ever talk about his wife. And if that doesn't happen, there should be hell to pay. Yeah, I don't care what really went down. I don't care what the story really is. When they ask you, well, how did you feel about so-and-so? Or how did y'all get together? Or, you caught these small bites. You say, and I was blessed, and I'm happy about it. And yeah, she's amazing, and she deserves all of the accolades. As great of a gymnast as she is, she's an even better person, and that's who I fell in love with. That's what we wanted to hear. That's where the anger came from. It didn't come from people being bitter, wanting her to be single, et cetera, et cetera. We want to know people are being loved and being loved well. And, hey, tell your truth or do whatever, but be prepared for people to remind you that there are certain ways you talk about people that you love. And when you've talked about them in the wrong way, you should examine that instead of pushing everybody away and saying everybody else is wrong. And that's an important lesson a lot of people learned this year. Not just him, lots of people, myself included. We learned it. And I hope the next time they ask him about his wife, he gives a Mr. Taylor response and not whatever the hell that was on that podcast. Anyway, I just wanted to pop in with this one real quick. New Year's Eve is in like 5 minutes. So I hope you all have a wonderful New Year's Eve and have a good New Year. And I will see you in 2024.